think they should lean towards doing it because, like I said, even going to an emergency room, I couldn't find a physician that would be able to give me hope and to be on my side to make the right choice. So just to have that option available to all women, it just gives a lot of hope.
Welcome to Caring for Both, a curbside consult series by the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists, or APLOG. On this podcast, we bring you experts and friends of ours to provide insights to support medical professionals in their life-affirming practice and career. I'm Dr. Christina Francis, a board-certified OBGYN and also CEO of APLOG, and I'm so thankful to be hosting this episode today. You may have seen our recent episode with Dr. Stephen Samut, who researches the use of natural progesterone to reverse the abortive effects of the abortion drug mifepristone, a treatment that is otherwise known as abortion pill reversal or rescue or APR. According to the APR network, this treatment has saved the lives of over 4,500 babies whose mothers began the chemical abortion regimen but changed their minds midway and wanted to keep their pregnancies. Today, I'm incredibly honored to have with me Athziri Perez. And Athziri and I had the opportunity to meet one another in California recently when we were both speakers at the California March for Life. Athziri is a Northern California mom whose son David is one of those more than 4,500 babies who are alive today, thanks to really the miracle of the APR treatment. And I'm so excited, Athziri, to have you with us today to share your story with us. Thank you so much for joining and having the courage to tell your story.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Athziri, before we jump into your APR story, I just would love our listeners who are mostly medical professionals who are, interacting with patients every day to hear a little bit about you, your family, where you're from, things like that. Anything you'd like to share with them?
Okay, so I'm from California. I was raised here. I got married at 19, and me and my husband started having kids right away. So I have four small children, and they're all under the age of 7 at the moment. So I have a busy life.
Yeah, you do. You do. So thank you, especially for taking time out of that busy schedule to spend time with us today. I definitely appreciate it. Um, Athziri, I think before we talk about your decision to save your son from a chemical abortion, I think it's important that we talk about, maybe if you feel comfortable, what led you to that decision. I know that so many women choose abortion for a variety of reasons, but from my experience in interacting with patients, I think many of them feel pressured in some way into that choice for an abortion, whether it be actual pressure from someone who's telling them they need to do it, or whether it's pressure from things that are going on in their lives. So do you mind sharing with us what your thought process was like when you were considering taking the abortion drugs?
Yeah, so sorry.
Okay.
So when I got pregnant with my fourth son, David, I was at a point in my life that it wasn't good. My marriage wasn't good. Our living situation wasn't good. There was a lot of rocky points that led me to think that I should get an abortion and that it would be the best option for the baby, right?
Mhm.
But I did also have an influence. I had a really close friend at the time that I told her this thought
Mhm.
that I was having, and she just was like, "Yes, do it. You need to do that. There is no other option." And I think just having that affirmation and having someone there telling you like what you're already thinking in your weak spot,
Mm.
just pushes you to think that that's the way out.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have anybody in your life at the time who told you the opposite? Who told you, I know you're in a rough spot, but you can do this. I can help support you through that. Was there any voice like that in your life at that time?
No, unfortunately
Mm.
not. My parents and family members, even on my husband's side, they just wanted us to stop having kids. So
Mm.
I didn't have anybody to go to that I knew would kind of cheer me on
Yeah,
to be able to do it.
yeah. Do you think, now looking back, do you think had you had someone in your life at that point in time that would have offered you support or maybe offered you a different perspective? I know it's hard to probably say exactly what you would have done different in that moment, maybe, but do you think you would have made a different decision in the beginning had you had somebody there supporting you?
I believe so. If I've had any of the people that I've met after this journey by my side at that point, I definitely don't think I would have thought that that was the way out.
Mm. I just think that's so important for people to hear. I mean, regardless if they're a physician or a medical professional interacting with patients or not, just people interacting with our own family members or friends or, people that find themselves, women that find themselves in difficult situations. I think probably many people are afraid to say something, that they just maybe need to agree with what the woman is telling them, and maybe that's the way that the people in your life felt. I don't know, but I think it's so important to hear how important it is for us to offer support to women who find themselves in difficult situations with their pregnancy or after delivery, even as they're raising their children, for women to know that they have that support. And I think it's important too for medical professionals and physicians to know that many times patients are coming into our offices in that very situation, and just offering even a few sentences of support may make the difference. Of course, this is never a choice we would want anyone to feel pressured into at all. So, before we get into your APR story, can you share also, if you feel comfortable doing so, what your experience was like when you went to get the abortion pills? Did the abortion facility offer you another option? Did they? What was your experience like there?
So my experience there was very dark. I could remember. I was crying, and they had to do an ultrasound to confirm my pregnancy, and they even suggested that I don't look
Mm,
because looking makes it real. And so they just told me to, look away and pretend that there's nothing. And um, it was very difficult. I felt like the nurse practitioner, the person that was helping me
mhm,
at the abortion clinic, it felt like almost like she was against me,
mm,
almost angry in a way. And I remember them even saying, if this doesn't work, if the pills don't work, they made me sign a paper that said I would come back and have a in-office procedure for them to go through with the abortion,
mm,
to pull the baby out of me, because they said that the pill would cause deformities, and just there would be no form of actual life after I took that pill.
mm. I'm so sorry for that experience. And in such a vulnerable and difficult time that would be your experience and make it even harder for you, to not I just, yeah, my heart just hurts for you, and so many women that I know go through that similar situation, in a spot where you needed care and compassion and support, that you would be met with someone who seems angry and sounds like not really listening or even paying attention to the fact that you were, it sounds like, visibly upset about this decision that you were about to make. Um, and so you took the pill then, and then tell me what happened after that. What led to you changing your mind and deciding to look to see about APR?
So that night, I was getting ready for bed, and I think after the emotions and the adrenaline just settled down, I realized I I was committing murder, in my opinion, and murder of my own child. So I just got very emotional. I started crying, and I rushed to the hospital at midnight so that I can seek help for this thing that I had done. And the ER doctor said they knew nothing about the abortion pill and that there was no way that they can help me.
Mm,
And basically, they said, you know, just throw away the second pill and hope for the best, but we can't do anything for you. They wouldn't even provide an ultrasound so that, I can see if I still had a baby. inside me, just give me some kind of peace of mind.
Right.
So I drove off and felt alone. And that's when I started praying and asking God to forgive me for what I had done. And that's when I came across the billboard on the freeway that I had never seen before. And it was a 1-800 APR, um, just big billboard, 24-hour hotline. So I just called. I called immediately, and they told me that they would connect me with a clinic close by the minute that, you know, somebody opened in the morning.
Mm, amazing. I think that there's this common narrative that we hear out there, especially in the last couple of years, in the mainstream media, that women don't ever or only rarely regret their abortion decision, and it- you obviously did almost immediately, it sounds like, I'm sure you've met many other women who have. What what was your? I'm just thinking of you driving, and you had to have been feeling so desperate, so hopeless after, going to a hospital, seeing a physician who should have been able to help you and help save your baby, and then being told that there was nothing that could do. Can you just tell us what was going through your head, what feelings you had when you saw that billboard? I mean, literally the answer to your prayers that you had been praying.
Yeah.
What were the emotions that were going through your mind at that point when you saw that?
I felt so much instant relief that there was a way out, that there was some, even the slightest bit of hope for me at that moment. Um, I just felt so excited, and I had never heard about APR. You know, everyone knows where you can get an abortion, who to call, and where to go right away, but nobody talks about, you know, the way out if you do change your mind, because unfortunately, a lot of women change their mind when it's too late. In their mind, they think it's too late because that's what these abortion clinics tell them, that, after you take that first pill, there is no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you just said too speaks to the importance of women knowing immediately, even when they go to get the abortion pills, that if they do change their mind, there is this option available because as you said, it's time sensitive. And what if you had not seen that billboard that was there and had not known? Maybe you wouldn't have found out about it in time. And so I do think that that's so important. And I know that there are states across the country that are working very hard to ensure that women, as part of their informed consent process with the abortion drugs, be told about the availability of APR. Um, so you said you called the hotline and they said that they would get you connected with somebody the next morning when they open. Can you tell us about that experience? What was that like getting connected with your APR provider?
Yeah, so that morning I received a call and they said that they couldn't find anyone close to me
Mm,
and that they were going to keep looking and they would, let me know. But of course, they kept reminding me it is time sensitive, and I was like, I didn't know what to do,
yeah.
because with the information that the abortion clinic had given me, I felt that I was going to have no choice but to take the second pill.
Mm,
I felt like with all the pain in my heart, I was going to be cornered into having to take that pill if I didn't have an APR close to me. Um, Thankfully, around noon, I received a call from a pregnancy care center in Fresno that let me know that they offered APR and they were about an hour away from me.
okay.
So I said, I'm on my way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then what was your experience like when you went to the pregnancy center? Especially I'm thinking back to your experience when you went to the abortion facility. Was your experience at the pregnancy center different? And if so, how was it different? How did it compare?
Yes, it was very different. So I saw that their closing hours were before I was going to get there.
Mm,
So I kept apologizing to them because I was texting them and I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry there's traffic." And they were just so sweet. They just kept reassuring me, like, "No, no, no, like, take your time. We're waiting for you. Like, there is no rush." And when I got there, I felt like I was going to be an inconvenience, right? Because after people have a long day of work, you
Sure.
imagine they want to go home.
Sure. Sure.
So that was not the experience that they made me feel. They didn't make me feel rushed. They took their time to get to know me, to pray with me, to make sure that I didn't have any shame. They, of course, told me that there was not 100% chance of saving the baby, but at least there was some hope.
Hmm.
And they started me on progesterone right away. They gave me an ultrasound, and then following that, once a week until the second trimester, they continued the progesterone and the ultrasounds
Mm,
and talking to me and being there for me, supporting me.
it's amazing. And tell us then tell us the rest of your story of your pregnancy and how David is doing now.
Yeah, the rest of my pregnancy was really, really good. I really enjoyed seeing him every week at the pregnancy care center, the ultrasounds, and they're just assuring me like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's still growing," and it was like a party every
Hmm.
time. And his his birth too was a bit traumatic because he was in the NICU. So that was really hard for me because I started feeling like, that first pill that I took,
Oh.
it could possibly, just all this shame that tries to creep in after you make such a decision, that a lot of women probably deal with that
Mm.
do go through with that decision for the rest of their life.
Hmm.
But now he is almost 3 years old
Aw.
and he's really healthy. He eats a lot and he's really completed our family.
Aw, aw. I was going to ask you about that. What is your family's perspective now on having David there with you? You know, when you found out you were pregnant with him, it sounds like everybody kind of thought this would be a horrible thing for your family to have another child with everything that you had going on. How has their perspective changed on that now that David is in your lives?
Well, they love him. They it's really sad because I called my dad after I went through with APR
Hmm.
and I told him, like with a broken heart crying, I said I tried to have an abortion because I knew you would be disappointed that I was pregnant again, but I couldn't go through with the abortion. And it sounded like he was disappointed that I didn't go through with the abortion.
Mm.
But now his perspective has completely changed and he just, yeah, they really love David.
What would your advice be, Aziri, to um, maybe a vulnerable woman or girl who might be listening to this right now, who finds herself in a very similar situation and feels like all of her family is maybe against her, against her being pregnant? What would your advice to her be?
My advice to someone in that position right now would be to let you know that you can do it. Even if it's just you on your own, you can do it. And when you meet that baby, when you have that baby that formed in your womb for 9 months, that's your blood, and you hold that baby close to you at birth, you're going to realize and you're going to be so thankful that you did do it. And any obstacle, I promise you, that you have in life, you're never ever going to think, I shouldn't have had this
Mm.
baby. Because once you meet that baby, that is not an option in your head that you would possibly ever have wanted.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent advice. And coming from someone who's been through it, I think that will be such an encouragement to women who might be listening to this. You know, Azir, you have been able to experience the life-saving, as I said in the beginning, I think miracle that is abortion pill reversal or abortion pill rescue that we can provide for women who make that sort of heat of the moment decision under a lot of pressure oftentimes. And I had a woman, an APR patient, tell me once that it was like she was walking around in a fog from the moment that she found out that she was pregnant. And then after she took that first pill, it was like the fog lifted and then it hit her, what she had done, very similar to what it sounds like your experience was. And so it's this miracle that we can provide for women and you just recounted from your experience. You were not forced, it doesn't sound like, into this decision when you went to that pregnancy center. They didn't force you to start APR. They provided that option for you and you decided to take it. But in your home state of California and even more recently in the state of New York, the state attorneys general have filed lawsuits, unfortunately, against several pregnancy centers for providing the very treatment that saved your son and gave you a second chance at life for your son. Unfortunately, these politicians are claiming that APR is unsupported by science, which we know isn't true. As I said at the beginning, we had Dr. Stephen Samut on a podcast episode talking about some of the science behind why this works. They're even claiming that it's dangerous for women potentially. And in California and in New York, they're claiming that the pregnancy centers claims that APR helps save children are misleading and untrue. Why do you, I know you're not a legal expert and we're not going to get into the details of these lawsuits, but as a woman who has used APR and who has a son who's alive because of it, what would you say maybe to the people that are trying to take this choice away from women? Why do you think that it should be available for women?
I think it should be available for women because if we are pro-choice, right, we should give women a choice to want to keep their baby and to change their mind if they want to change their mind, just as well that they want to give them a choice to not have a baby, right?
Right.
I think it's very important as someone who had it. It was my only hope
Mm,
in a moment where I felt hopeless, and I had no side effects. My son had no side effects from it, and I have him now.
mhm.
Thanks to APR.
Yeah.
Progesterone is something that the body makes regardless when you're pregnant. So I think it's just like a boost, helping the body do something good for the baby rather than harm
Yeah.
the mom.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's consistent with what the science shows, and it was able to give you hope in a moment of hopelessness, and you have a beautiful son who's with you today because of that. And certainly we want every woman who finds herself in a similar situation to be able to have that choice as well. So, Aziri, one final question for you. There may be medical professionals, physicians who are listening to this right now and are really unsure whether or not they should be providing APR for their patients, maybe because of false information they're hearing from pro-abortion medical groups that are saying that APR is based on junk science or that it's dangerous. What would you say to any physician, medical professional who might be listening to this who is not sure whether or not they should become an APR provider?
I think they should lean towards doing it because, like I said, even going to an emergency room, I couldn't find a physician that would be able to give me hope and to be on my side
Yeah.
to make the right choice. So just to have that option available to all women, it just gives a lot of hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and there were a couple things that you said as we were talking that made me think, emphasizes the need for there to be more people providing APR. One is, as you just said, going to the emergency room and no one there even knowing about this. But two, the fact that initially when you called the APR network, they were having a hard time finding someone close enough to you that was a provider so that you could get that timely care that you needed. And, this is something I felt for a long time that any physician, regardless of where they stand on the issue of abortion, whether they're pro-life or pro-choice, again, this is just a choice for women. It's a life-saving treatment that if we have a woman who desires to save the life of her child after taking that first pill, the mifepristone, that we can provide it for her. And so I just think it's so helpful for our physicians, maybe someone who's questioning whether or not they should be an APR provider, to hear your story from you, to know that this is the ability that we have to intervene in our patients' lives and truly, there are many things that we can do in medicine, but there's not oftentimes a lot of things that we can do that we can see the immediate results necessarily, the immediate life-saving results. And as a physician who has provided APR for patients and been able to deliver their babies, I can say, when you said that it was like a celebration every week when you went back in and baby was doing well on the ultrasound, that resonated with me because that's been the same experience I've had. And as physicians, I think many of us face burnout. There's a lot of things that we do that are very hard and draining on us. But this is one that will give life not only to your patients, but to your practice as well. And so I would just echo Aziri's comments that I would encourage anyone listening to this who is a physician or another medical professional with prescribing authority to become an APR provider so that you can offer this option to your patients who desire the chance to save their child's life. Athziri, any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with anyone who's listening to the podcast today?
No, I do want to say that I know that I repeated the word hope a lot,
Mm,
but I just want to emphasize how important it is to these women to have hope in these times when they are going through such a tough decision to make.
absolutely. And I pray that this will provide hope for anyone who's listening to it to know that that's not a choice that they have to continue with if they've already started the process, that they have a chance to save their child's life. Athziri, thank you so much for joining us, for taking time out of your busy life to join us and for having the courage to share your story. You know, not only do I hope that this is an encouragement to any physicians that are listening, but I hope this is an encouragement to other women who've been through similar situations to have the courage to share their stories. It's so important for your voices to be heard. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you to our listeners and our watchers for joining us today. You know, APLOG is the premier professional medical organization representing your practice of life affirming medicine. If you want to ensure we can continue to do that and produce more content like this podcast, please consider supporting our work by donating at aaplog.org/donate or by joining as a member if you are a medical professional. Finally, if you liked this episode, be sure to give us a like and to subscribe on YouTube. Or if you're listening on a podcast app, be sure to give us a 5-star review. We'll see you right back here next week. Thanks so much.